gonna be honest with you guys. I was not really paying a lot of attention to this Rashee Rice incident because I didn't think nothing serious was going to become of this. Normally, we see these NFL players pretty often get into a lot of legal issues off the field and they get nothing but a little slap on the wrist. And I thought this was going to be another one of these cases, but this situation has turned really serious. The Dallas PD put out an arrest warrant for Rashee Rice due to an accident he was involved in, and March 30 or March 31st, him and a friend were racing. He had a Lambo and he ended up getting into a 6-car accident. And then him and the fellow driver that he was racing with, they fled the scene. And then we would soon discover later that he had some marijuana in the car. He also had a playbook in there, some jewelry, a check. And the people that were involved in the crash, how are they? Are they all right? They had some minor injuries. So this thing isn't Henry Ruggs bad, but it is still pretty bad because with the warrant that they put out for him, he has 1 account of aggravated assault, 1 account of collision involving serious bodily injury, and 6 counts of collision involving injury. It's not looking good for Rashee Rice. And I'm not a lawyer or a legal expert, but the maximum prison time that he could receive is pretty lengthy. Even if he does find a way to beat these charges and he gets off with a little minor punishment, some community service, pays a fine, gets put on probation, he still is going to have to face consequences from the league. And he definitely is going to miss at least 4 games. You know, the NFL, when it comes to their punishments, they normally don't really F off. They make it hurt. So I could see him having a 5-game, 4-game suspension. KC, you get Marquise Brown in free agency, and everybody's excited thinking about the dynamic duo you could have next year with Hollywood and Rashee. And there's a strong possibility that we may not even see Rashee Rice be able to suit up week 1 next season for Kansas City. I mean, at this point, there's a good chance that this dude may not even be free. He may be locked behind bars watching the Kansas City Chiefs play next year. And it's just really surprising how these NFL players are given a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and they just make bad decisions. I understand that they're humans. They're not robots. They make mistakes just like how me and you make mistakes. But what would give Rashee Rice, the wherewithal to think that it was a good idea to be street racing? Go to a racetrack. Why are you trying to live life like you're playing in GTA 6? And then you're racing with weed in the car? That makes absolutely no sense. If you're going to race, at least race with nothing else in the car that could get you in more trouble. This just isn't a good look for Rashee Rice all the way around. He is young. Young people make mistakes. And he didn't kill nobody like Henry Ruggs did, but he did get some people hurt due to his actions. He went on Instagram. He accepted accountability for his actions, which is a good thing. But you effed over Kansas City. We don't know if you're going to be free. And if you are able to beat this, you're going to miss some games. They're going to have to draft another receiver pretty high because they don't got a lot of depth at receiver. At least anybody that you can look at right now and be like, oh yeah, that dude could definitely be a serviceable number 1 for a few couple of weeks. Or at least until Rashee Rice can get back healthy. Or not healthy, but he can, serve whatever punishment that he receives if he's able to beat the legal battle in the courtroom. The NFL definitely is going to give him a suspension. The question just is, how long? So until he returns, Kansas City, you're going to have to find somebody who can fill his role. It definitely isn't Kadarius Toney. You're going to have to find that answer in the draft. You got Marquise Brown, but he's just a really high end number two. He's a really good Robin. For Marquise Brown to be really effective, he needs a Batman. He's a really good sidekick. Rashee Rice could have been that Batman in this situation. But with him, potentially facing years behind bars and potential suspension, we don't know what's going to happen with this dude. And Kansas City, you just have to go ahead and go about things in the draft as if you might not have him available. You might not lose him for a few years, but you might be without him definitely for a couple of games. Could you get A.D. Mitchell? Could you maybe trade up for a Brian Thomas Jr. maybe? Hell, is Kansas City trading up for Marvin Harrison Jr. out of the question? You may look at Rashee Rice and say he was solid and he could come back and shake back from this, but if you could get Marvin Harrison Jr. for 2 first-round picks, how do you not pull the trigger on that if you're Kansas City? I don't know what you would do with Rashee Rice. Maybe you move him to the slot or whatever. Maybe you move Hollywood to the slot. Who knows? But it's not looking good for Rashee Rice, bro. And I know he has to be looking back on this feeling really, really stupid because the Lamborghini looks really nice. It really does. And you want to be able to enjoy the merits of your hard work. And what's the point of having a car that goes that fast if you're never going to have the opportunity to put the pedal to the metal? But at the same time, you're an NFL player. And it's easy to look at these guys and say, we would do a lot better if we were in their situations. But, a lot of people have their own ways of going about living life. The only problem with Rashee Rice in this situation is that, you can't use the open world as a racetrack. The world isn't GTA. If you want to race, rent out a racetrack, rent out a private location or private property to do it. Don't do it out in the open for people to get hurt. When you're driving, not only are you responsible for your life, but other people's lives as well. That's the whole point of having these long virtual driving classes to teach you road safety, driver safety, looking out for yourself behind the wheel and the safety of others. Rashee Rice this just isn't a good example of what an NFL player should be setting. And this is why when you see players around draft time that have some character concerns, why ESPN and the NFL Network spend so much time reporting on it. Even if you have a clean rap sheet, you've never gotten in any trouble at all, you could have a guy like a Henry Ruggs or Rashee Rice end up doing something stupid like this. And I promise you, this isn't the first time he's been doing this. Normally, these players, when they street race, they've been doing it for a while. It's just now they got the luxury cars, they got the money now. So 9 times out of 10, they're going to win the majority of times. It doesn't even make any sense trying to challenge one of these dudes to a race. Now, in this situation, the other dude had a pretty high-end luxury vehicle also, but that's not really the point. The point is that Rashee Rice made a stupid decision. He hurt his team. He could be hurting himself in terms of his freedom. And this is definitely one of those things that just makes the NFL get a bad rap. When people think about NFL players and how they conduct themselves off the field, I kind of get a little upset when I see the people making the jokes the NFL stands for the National Felon League, because not a lot of people in the league are knuckleheads. Most players know how to conduct themselves in a pretty well-mannered way. But you do have guys who tend to like to have a little bit more fun than others. They take it a little bit further than what they should, and they go off the deep end, and they don't think about the consequences in the process. And apparently that's what looks to happen to Rashee Rice in this situation. All I can say is I'm hoping and I'm praying for the best for him in this situation. I'm hoping for the best for the people who were involved in this, that everybody's okay, that everybody can make healthy recoveries fully. Nobody gets no long term damage. So maybe the Chargers won't be, or the charges won't be as severe on Rashee Rice. So hopefully everybody's in good health. And Rashee Rice, he can take this situation, not really have to face any prison time, hopefully, because nobody got severely hurt. And he can learn from this, grow from this, and not repeat this again. Because, I mean, you would hate to see somebody with such a promising future throw all this away on just a stupid adrenaline rush. Because that's really what it is. It's just an adrenaline rush when you're trying to race. But, man, it doesn't look good for Rashee Rice, people. It really doesn't. We can just hope for the best.